The Immortal Game by Aesthetic B. Chapter 15. The Power to Destroy. Unimpressive cleaved the nerve-pulling puppet in two with vindictive. Then watched as the puppet next to him burst. You know, he called back to Fireside. It doesn't flossy or intimidating, but damn that mind-pulverized thing you do is effective. He split vindictive into 13 blazing missiles and sent them at a unicorn.
I don't like it,
Fireside said.
It's no different than using your hooves to hurt somebody.
Unimpressive frowned. Not Fireside's comment, but at the force field unicorn refused to reflect his weapon. Yeah, they like it. Unimpressive nodded to the multi-code of voiceless, who had joined him in the holding tunnel. No, sir, because you got that unicorn in the back, I swear he just stuck his tongue out at me. Fireside sighed and attempted to lock eyes with the pony.
I just hope Twilight is okay,
he said after popping the puppet's brain. So you can teleport, he answered as he set a Pegasus puppet on fire. What use for Pegasi underground? She'll be fine.
But she's been so stressed,
Fireside said softly.
I tried everything. I even offered her a massage.
She ducked to avoid a flying piece of stone, and Unimpressive batted out of the air with a thought. I even offered her hard liquor, he answered. What? He said upon seeing the look she gave him. It's like a massage, but for the soul. Her disapproving stare intensified. If looks could kill flux. She locked eyes with another puppet, and it burst into nothingness. It was then he heard it, a solitary cry of, It's the cadet! His head whipped around immediately. The voice had come from behind him. He saw the pale green coat through the disorganized mess of his own soldiers, who were screaming and scouring at the sight of the new arrival. The cadet's blade whirled to and fro, hacking at the loyalists close by. The nerve point close with the cadet, attempting to fight him off, but he was willfully inadequate against the blade caster, and was quickly cut down. Unimpressive felt his blood boil. How long had this bastard been inside their defenses, killing evacuees rather than helping his own forces on the front? Rage filled his veins, and he did the only thing seemed fitting. He pulled out his whiskey.
Unimpressive?
Fluttershy said, as he upended the flask. He kept going.
Are you sure this is,
He kept going.
Was this you?
He pulled the flask from his lips and rapped it against his horn, where it made a hollow metallic clank.
Oh my.
Unimpressive breathed deeply, and suppressed the urge to vomit. It's good, he wheezed, losing his footing momentarily. It's a good fun. He patted Fluttershy on the back. You're interested, okay?
What?
Unimpressive was already barreling away from her, pushing against his own scattering troops in pursuit of his rival. Cadet! He bellowed as he cleared the other loyalists. Where are you? They spotted him passing through a door several distance away and followed. When he pushed through the metal door, he found himself in a wide room. He was alone with Cadet! He said venomously to the green unicorn. You! The cadet shot back. He then sneered. What's your name, dead pony? You never learned it. I'm surprised. You aren't talked about very often. You weren't talking about it all. Call me unimpressive. The cadet snorted. Fitting. Call me the cadet. Unimpressive cocked his head to the side. I literally do. The cadet looked somewhat put out. In that case, he said, regaining his composure and casting his bright green blade. He opened his mouth to speak. Did I? I wasn't going to say die. You were not going to say die. As quite frankly as another cliche, above your rank and extremely predictable. With small effort of will, vindictive flared to life before him, and roughly inaccurate. He finished. Roar! Cadet came out swinging. Little more original, Unimpressive said unhappily. With a flare of white light, the two blades clashed in the air before them, then spread across to come at one another again. They buzzed and whirled as the two matched skills with one another. The cadet was good, but Unimpressive was better. He countered the cadet's slower, more powerful strokes of his own, but his hoofwork was where he excelled. The cadet was constantly grunting his left hind leg, and as a result, Unimpressive pushed him back a considerable distance. I never understood what the general saw in you over me, his opponent said as their blades danced in the air before them. Really? Unimpressive tried to hide the strain on his face as he pushed vindictive against. Actually, he had no idea what the cadet's blade was called. A searing white light burned where it met his own weapon. Because I'm sort of kicking your ass right now. Wait, you're talking about Master Silk, right? Because if Esteem had a bunch of posters of me in his room, then I'm going to be a little more than weirded out. Muscle stroke! The cadet shrieked as he heaved against Unimpressive's blade with all his magical muscle and pushed him away from another. You're a troublemaker. A drunk! I swear I'm starting to get Crow flashbacks. But so handsome and charming. Unimpressive finished with a sly grin as he blocked a set of strikes. Your timing was off on that third hit, Caddy. I should have been his apprentice, the cadet hissed. I have power you do not. Unimpressive answered him by raising an eyebrow. It's cute how dramatic you are. Like, this is some final confrontation between two arch rivals. The real truth is that you're just another royal for me to put down. He lied. Unimpressive had been looking forward to giving this little prick his comeuppance for some time. His comment sent the cadet over the edge. A snarl rage, he took an overhead swing at Unimpressive. It was easily caught on vindictive. Under the light of their clashing blades, Unimpressive flashed his opponent a grin before hauling off and punching him in the face. The cadet reeled, grabbing his muzzle with a hoof. Fortunately, he still had the wit to use his magical senses and deflect Unimpressive's follow strike. Unimpressive swung at him with a hoof again, but the cadet caught his hoof in a block. Unimpressive's shoulders slumped. He taught you muscle-ass, he said in his post almost a whine. The cadet smiled, and the light from the connecting blades cast serious shadows over his face. I'm going to enjoy this. Stop that! His opponent shrieked before punching out his hoof on a focused strike. It was a decently thrown punch, and the cadet had clearly practiced whilst in the military. Unimpressive, however, had practiced while drunk and done less rapid to consular bars. He was more than enough for a scuffle. He constantly caught the cadet's punch with both forelegs, then reached out with his magic and grabbed the empty flask until he reached to his harness. He spun out from his robe and cracked the cadet in the teeth. While his opponent's head reeled backwards and the blood spurted from his bleeding lips, Unimpressive was forced to block the incandescent green blade with his own as the cadet swung at him wildly. He paid too much attention to their blades, and the cadet recovered far faster than he would have expected. Unimpressive felt a hoof dive its way into his chest. His immediate reaction was to throw up a little, filling his mouth with a burn of whiskey-tasting bile. He spotted another hoof coming his way, and Wesley dunked a blow before spraying his sick all over the cadet. His throat drew away, earning a look of total revulsion, and Unimpressive swung at him with vindictive. The cadet deflected the blow and lunged at him, knocking to the ground. His hose came down on Unimpressive's neck, as his emerald blade came vindictive away. I see now. The cadet managed to grit his teeth as Unimpressive pushed his face away from the hoof. The error was Master Stroke's, not mine. He was a fool, and he sought the tutor. Unimpressive bit down on his forelegs, and the cadet's grip loosened as he drew away. With a heave, Unimpressive rolled him away and got back to his hooves. That's really bothering you, isn't it? The table at the center of the room was enveloped in the cadet's magical aura, and the room was filled with the sound of being split into splinters. They lunged through the air at Unimpressive, but took cover behind a wide force field. I was top of the air. What pick of every officer? You are no pony. A walking dropout, and he chose you. Then Unimpressive saw his chance. The easiest win he could possibly pull off. The ultimate cheat. You wanted to lie? The cadet began to circle him, and Unimpressive circled his rival in turn. Enlighten me. The day I got brought to this office, I thought I was going to get thrown out. Instead, I met Celestia. Lies. Unimpressive ignored him. She nudged me, he whispered, remembering. You have no idea what the conversation with her can be like. The knighthood hadn't changed him. 5 minutes what the princess had. And while I knelt on the floor, confused as to why a drunken scoundrel was becoming the general's apprentice, Master Stroke spoke. Unimpressive leveled his blade at the cadet. I'll tell you what he said, cadet. Then he charged. His blade casting was superb, footwork flawless. Suddenly, the cadet's moves seemed predictable. He followed his opponent's eyes and examined his hoofwork. Watching as the cadet betrayed exactly where he was going to be next. He met every one of his enemy's strokes with ease. Surprising. He never fought so well in his life. He called me by name, he recalled. Then he told me it meant nothing. The cadet and he were now wading through the ruins of the table. He broke his blade, sent it out Unimpressive. Unimpressive mirrored the action. For a moment they were alone amidst 24 redder screen stars. Then he called me by rank, was just now Knight Bachelor, and he told me it meant nothing. The cadet dove backwards as their blades reformed in space between them, or soon their clashing. And for the next decade, he spent every day kicking my ass, so that one day I could turn around and kick yours. Also, I think he hated me. I was kind of noisy and unmotivated, and I made fun of his beard. You still haven't told me why he chose you. He told me it's because I saw the world in a way the others didn't. He told me that the secret that Celestia has told to all those greatest commanders but one, and that all of the commanders tell to their apprentices. Do you want to hear it? From behind the incandescent light are clashing blades. The cadet saw daggers at him, enlighten me. Unimpressive, leaned in. It sounded in a voice that was barely a whisper. The entire Equestrian military is the front. Every pony in it serves as an altogether different purpose than what they believe. Because the most important thing, the most powerful mortal pony needs to know, is that this world is not one to be won by war. The cadet snorted. Nonsense! Is it? I don't recall Master Stroke defeating Nightmare Moon or Discord. The cadet's face fell for a moment before aiming a jab at Unimpressive. He parried, and the cadet stepped away from his riposte. Tell me why you'd rather be a named cadet, he said. That's because of who I am. His opponent cried as the blades wrestled in the air and cut long swathes through the floor beneath them. Because that is what I am, Unimpressive! Names mean nothing, Unimpressive countered. Titles mean nothing! Every mate's light in the room flared. They were bathed in the same growing light. It is the cause, not the pony, that is important. The deeds, not the name that should be remembered. Cadet's horn flared, and Unimpressive was caught in an emerald green net that carried him through the air over 40 feet and struck the wall behind him. Cadet regarded him coolly. What do you call me dramatic? He called out across the room. I think my general taught me lessons that were more practical. 13 balls of meteoric silver rolled harmlessly around the room. Unimpressive's head rolled on his neck. Where did Cadet learn to do that? As now as ever. Esteem trusted you with the power to destroy, huh? How did he get him to do that? From across the room, the cadet smiled. The general respects ability, he said smugly, and I have it. I mastered the binding spell in less than 2 weeks. There now. He broke his blade and undid the binding spell, as the green blade melts pinned Unimpressive to the wall. They seared his flesh, and Unimpressive was glad he was someone inebriated. He trusted that much, say. You're the second in command. I am his apprentice, he said proudly. And that's why you fight for the pig, because he respects your talents. Pig! The cadet answered incredulously. His blade melts flared, and he burned Unimpressive's flesh. General Esteem is a master. He's unstoppable. Every pony gets out of his way. Nothing is outside his grasp. Now, what was it you said about deeds being remembered? You! He spat. Not be remembered. A green ball of light floated up to sit before Unimpressive's right eye. One more thing. Unimpressive smiled. You said that nothing was outside your general's grasp. He said, nothing, the cadet said forcefully. Not even the daughter he's going to replace you with. His word left the cadet wide-eyed, and the other unicorn spurted as words failed him. He gaped as the wave of Unimpressive's words struck him and rang true. The general would rather have Rarity as his apprentice once again. The cadet fought for the approval of a stallion who would abandon him. He hated the rejection he received from General Master Stroke so many years ago. He was going to feel the same rejection again. Finally, his expression crested for the briefest moment into something Unimpressive could read from 40 feet away. What was the point? The cadet's blade burnt out, and the room was filled with the tiny pings of 13 silver orbs dropping listlessly to the floor. It was simple, really. He lost his reason to fight. It had been a very weak reason in the first place. What kind of daddy issues must he have had need to have so much of his boss's approval? A real pony needed to fight for a cause, a purpose, a feeling. Unimpressive dropped down to the floor and looked across the room, over the remains of the table, into Cadet's terrified eyes. A feeling. Right now, he was feeling vindictive. The blade formed in front of him as he sprang forward towards Cadet at top speed. The duel had been greatly simplified. If Unimpressive reached the cadet lost. Which means that over the next 40 feet, his opponent was going to expend every ounce of power trying to kill him. They each had about 5 seconds to let everything loose. Unimpressive couldn't help but grin. It was time to get dangerous. First, the cadet cast his binding spell, and a blazing green net materialized in the air, shot upwards towards Impressive. The cadet caused it to burst into darker green flames mid-flight. Unimpressive could have scoffed. First, at the idea he would allow the same spell to surprise him twice, and second, at the ridiculousness of igniting a binding spell. If the spell hit him, the cadet won. What's the point of lighting on fire? Hoofwork was everything. On a second bound forward from the wall, he pulled his forelegs back as he hit the ground and pivoted to swing his hindquarters forward. He didn't need to be facing the net to cleave it in two. When Vindictive cut the net into parts, they sped past his head on either side of him. The proximity burned the back of his head, but his face was safe. His hood was blown up into his head, and was turning back around before he hit the ground. 30 feet. He broke Vindictive and sent 3 glowing red blade mills sprawling across the cadet. His opponent spent precious time batting them out of the air. Unimpressive was already reforming the blade as the cadet saw a pale green ball of light his way. How original. 20 feet. The magic missile would reach him before Vindictive did. Unimpressive considered jumping to either side and stopping to erect a barrier, but these would slow him down considerably. While ducking would slow him down less, any time he gave the cadet was time he could spend regaining his conviction and casting his blade. It was time to pull a pinkie pie. He planted one of his front hooves and sprang off the ground as he side-swung forward. It was a poor imitation of her style. He nowhere near the agility she did, and as he flipped over the missile, he felt sins on the arrow's back. He completed his turn and hit the ground in what was arguably a landing. He was on 4 legs, still moving forward, so Unimpressive's opinion, it met the criteria. 10 feet. Clearly out of ideas, Cadet sent a wave of telekinetic force at him that drew the splinter remains of the table toward him. It was an interesting combination. Normally the wave would counteract the fragments, but Unimpressive was going to have to counteract that wave. Whatever. He at least started to work green. The way they've been throwing green and red around, you'd think they were having a heartwarming eve, the duel. Unimpressive cooked up and threw his own wave of force right before the cadets hit him, and the two collided in the air. Unimpressive bound through a turning wall of conflicting residual forces, and the churning hair fighting his hoof and the mane against his neck. As soon as he hit the ground, he pushed Vindictive against the cadet's neck, then spun him around to face the oncoming shards of wood, which the cadet had unexpectedly set on fire, as though that would help in any way. Unimpressive managed to stop all the shards that would have hit him, but sadly only slowed the ones bound for the cadet to non-lethal speeds. Oh well, he lived. He spun them around and pushed the cadet to the wall, where he pinned him with Vindictive. "Open your mouth!" he shouted. When the cadet did not do as he was told, Unimpressive decided he needed a little prompting. Burnt him with his blade notes. "Open your mouth!" The cadet complied. He broke a single silver orb away from Vindictive and set on the other corner's tongue. "Swallow!" The cadet's eyes widened. "Swallow!" he complied. "No." Unimpressive said with a grin. "You use any magic on anything sneaky, I take it out. Tell me you understand." The cadet whimpered. "I understand." Unimpressive's grins widened. "Good," he said. "Now, let's go meet General Twilight Sparkle." She held him as long as she could. The problem is there were always more fleeing ponies. There were always more puppets. While Dash was strong, she couldn't fight forever. The puppets apparently could. How she was supposed to be able to take the unicorns with no pinky sense or allies? They would tear her to shreds as she got close and wasn't careful. She did have allies. Not all of the loyalists were fleeing, and some of them would stop for a time to help her cover the constant stream of retreating ponies. Retreating ponies who wouldn't have a hope without her. She could not afford to stop fighting. The puppets were coming from everywhere. So Rainbow Dash tried to be everywhere. It even worked at first. She was the fastest Pegasus alive, after all. She darted between alleyways and rooftops, barking orders to her loyalists as she tore puppets apart. She rushed over to intercept the magic spells or blocked their own punches if it meant saving another pony's life. It was too exhausting, especially after her fight with Titan. Dash may have been one of the 5, but she wasn't invincible. She began to slow down, take a couple of hits. They were minor things, really, but they accumulated. After a while, her body just stopped listening. Her wings were bruised and battered, and she couldn't fly. Her chest had taken one too many blows, and it hurt to breathe. Everything she had just wasn't cutting it. Finally, in the midst of the group of enemy Earth ponies, Rainbow Dash fell. She wasn't going to fall. She couldn't afford to fail, not with so many ponies depending on her for cover. She moved to get back up, was thrown back to the ground as she took a kick to the chest, had the wind knocked out of her. The pain was building to intolerable levels, but Dash could take it. Had to take it. She tried to call the power of thunder, but failed. She just couldn't focus. She was failing. A hoof beat her head into the ground. A splitting pain sounded through her muzzle. Rainbow Dash went for her blade, but realized he had dropped it when she fell. Suddenly she realized she was going to die unless he did something. With a thunderous crack, the entire world went white, and Dash's eyes, the only thing that hadn't been hurting, cried out in pain. She looked away, and her vision slowly returned to her. As it did, she heard explosions, bangs and pops that made the ground shake. With another extremely loud crack sounded out, and Dash was glad she was looking away from the source. The entire world was bleached a greenish purple for a moment, as though a lightning bolt had struck not 10 feet behind her. Then she noticed that every puppet that had been around her moments before was gone. She rolled over to see that every puppet was gone. Over 50 of them had been taken out in seconds. Before her stood Princess Luna. Her so Dash fought thirst. It was the maid that seemed familiar. Twilight's eyes were hard and unforgiving. They glowed with an inner light, as though within each of them burned a piece of the thunder she had just used to smite her enemies. Her mane was a deep blue mass of ethereal energy, blowing in an unfelt breeze. Thin ripples of electric pink and all kinds of shades of purple would occasionally surface from the whirling expanse, giving it a deep, nebulous look. Around her head orbited a tiny fragment of a purple gemstone. "Rainbow Dash," she said. Despite her full appearance, her voice was soft. "I wronged you. Can't imagine what it must have been like." She took a step closer to Dash. Dash's first instinct was to draw away. "But you didn't have free will, Dash. You weren't yourself. You were wrong." Dash closed her eyes. "I made wrong up." She was an excuse. "The easiest way to change a pony is to take from them everything they have and work from a blank state. Nihilus took your friends. She took your pride. She took your loyalty and your flight. She took these things away, and then made her spell force your mind down a darker path. And in the end, you broke free. Fluttershy set me free. You broke free. As soon as Fluttershy opened the door for you, you didn't hesitate before jumping through to help a friend in need. And when you did, it wasn't wrong to came to Pinkie Pie's rescue. It was Rainbow Dash." This time, when Twilight stepped towards her, Dash didn't back away. She remembered chanting her own name inside her head as she descended towards her falling friend. "Rainbow Dash! If there was ever a way to break a pony beyond repair, it would be what you went through, Rainbow Dash. But it didn't, because you are not something that could be broken. You could change, you could suffer, and you could die. But you'll always be there for ponies who need you. I couldn't ask for a better friend." Twilight extended her hoof. "I know you can get up on your own, Rainbow Dash, but I prefer you take my hoof. Take my hoof." Dash immediately began to reach for Twilight's outstretched foreleg. Then she stopped. This wasn't something she was going to do because of her subconscious desire to obey Twilight Sparkle. She had to make a choice. Dash saw Twilight stall nervously, her hoof hanging. It was an easy choice to make, especially once Dash realized that Twilight wasn't offering help. She was asking for it. Dash took her hoof. She would always be there for her friends. She felt Twilight tap their harmonic connection for the first time ever. Twilight came out of her blink with a crack and a star-like flash of purple light. Rarity reacted to her arrival first. "Twilight!" she gasped. "You look absolutely stunning, darling." Twilight looked around her. The elements of harmony already told her that Rarity, Applejack, and Pinkie Pie were here, but they were really looking for someone else. "Princess Luna." Twilight greeted her monarch with a curt bow. "The tunnels below our ground are cleared?" Luna took her approving glance. "Indeed they are, gentlemen. Our last pony should be arriving hence." Twilight nodded. "A general Esteem?" The princess smiled slightly. "Retreated." "Excellent. I have ordered every pony I found above ground to convene in Saddle Square. They should all get the message." Saddle Square?" Applejack said. "You sure that's going to be big enough for over 1,000 ponies?" "I reckon it." Applejack glanced at her maid. "Oh, all right then." Twilight then turned back to Luna. "I want a promotion." Luna cocked her head. General of the armies of Equestria is the greatest position dogs can hold. Name me Master General. Luna's eyes narrowed. That was the rank Titan bestowed upon the leader of his troops. I know, but the leader of his troops was Celestia. Luna finished with a wide smile. You and C are the only ponies who have ever defeated him. Make me Master General, and we'll send him a message. I'll rank as General Esteem as well. And it'll be something I choose to do this time. I want this. I will not deny thee rank, Twilight Sparkle. Thou art now Master General. Excellent. Now, do you have any of the night sky to spare, Princess? At this, Luna's smile turned to a full-grown grin. I'll take that as a yes, Twilight said. Verity? She turned to the other unicorn. I need a uniform. What do you have that says Godslayer? Verity looked like a filly waking up on Heartswarming Eve. It's so sticky! Verity whined. How am I supposed to make anything out of this? She attempted to peel some of the sky off her hooves, with little success. They had convened in the building on the edge of South Square, that Twilight decided to use as an impromptu headquarters. Every pony was present except for Fluttershy, who would arrive shortly. Luna was also there, helping Rarity to shape and weave her gift into something Twilight could use. The uniform's purpose was not to enforce her appearance as Celestia's successor in Ponykind General. While it certainly would do these things, its real purpose was to help Rarity remember who she was. Twilight had been half crazy over the past 2 weeks, unconscious the month before that, and tranced like a sliver of darkness the week before that. Rarity needed to stay in touch with the desire she once was, instead of the soldier she had become. As a friend, Rarity's emotional well-being fell on Twilight. But then, Twilight was responsible for everything now. Everything. How had Celestia coped with being the ruler of ponykind for 1,000 years? How had the princess handled the knowledge that every time she made a mistake, fate would exact a toll of pony lives? What was more, why would Titan ever want to hold that position? Twilight, darling! Twilight managed to suppress a smile at the lit that returned to her friend's voice. Her plan was meeting some success, at least. What is that thing spinning around your head? She plucked the gemstone out of its orbit and made it hover in the air before her. This is a piece of the element of magic. It carries all my protective enchantments. Rarity pursed her lips. I guess you'll have to keep it then, won't you? Say, Beauty, I had the nicest idea for a chapeau in mind, but if you want a spinning rock, it'll have to do. Hey, said Des, how come we have the whole elements, but you only need a piece to protect you? Twilight was happy to explain. Mine doesn't need any power, like yours, because I have all my unicorn magic with me at all times. It just tells my magic how to behave when I channel energy to it, like this. She placed the gemstone back into its orbit and began to spin faster. It glowed Twilight's standard purple, as it eventually formed a halo of magical light. Ooh! Pinky said with her eyes widening. I want to touch it, can I touch it? That's a bad idea, Pinky. Verity squinted at the glowing circlet. I suppose I can make it work. A heart would have gone well with your new maid anyway. How do you get it like that? Lots and lots of magic. Rainbow Jazz does it when she signed green spoons. So that's just the place, Applejack said. Where's the rest? Equinox, Twilight said simply. Every pony in the room gave her a confused look, except Luna, whose expression immediately darkened. Applejack spoke up. Say what again, sugar? For her null space, Twilight pulled another glowing amethyst shard, drifting lazily around her entire body in a small circle. Then another purple orb inked into place around her. Then another, and another. Soon, she stood at the center of a galaxy composed of amethyst stars. There were 27 of them, including the one over her head. The other 26 collapsed in on themselves, joining them to form a long, slender slab that blazed of light, so intense every pony in the room had to look away. Every pony except for Twilight, of course. She added a light filter to her protective enchantments. Equinox, she repeated. The spell to enchant a blade is detailed in the earliest chapter of the Power to Destroy. It's also a beautiful piece of magic. I can't fathom the kind of mind that would create something like it. Titan spells are complex, but straightforward. This is art. All of us have changed, she said, looking over her blade at her friends. For Nihilus, I would never have considered wielding the power to destroy. Now, I will do it only reluctantly. but I still see the beauty in the magic itself. I've been denying the change in myself for far too long. I was afraid of becoming a monster. I still am. But I think it would be more terrifying if we couldn't change. Equinox. She said, a perfect balance between light and darkness. I'm not afraid of my darkness any longer. I will always be Twilight Sparkle. Luna stood from where she had been helping Rarity with her fabric, and walked her to where Twilight stood. Dost thou remind me of Celestia? Twilight mastered anger well. As far as she was concerned, that was an insult. Celestia was the reason she was there in the first place. Luna leaned in and whispered in her ear. Roof! She sounded furious. Twilight cleared her throat. I'll be back. Make sure Rarity doesn't hurt herself on that fabric while I'm gone. It's like I am sewing solid oil, and I swear that salt just bugged me! Rarity wailed. Twilight blinked up to the roof, where Luna met her in a matter of moments. Equinox, the princess said calmly. One might wonder why thou hast chosen that particular name. My name is Twilight Sparkle. It seemed to fit. Thou hast no other motives? Twilight was beginning to wonder why she had to be away from the others for this. What do you mean, other motives? My blade is named Adia. This Twilight knew. They had been working together for 2 weeks. Celestia's the Zenith. Twilight also knew. She had opened a history textbook before. Terra's is exogenesis. This Twilight didn't know. Exogenesis? Is an old word. It refers to the belief that life and magic first came into this world by an asteroid. Created through destruction. Beauty through catastrophe. Such is Terra's prerogative. So what's Titan's? Singularity. Among the many things it can be taken to mean, one stands out. It is everything within the space of nothing, an inescapable void predating time, containing all of existence itself. Something so massive it could curve space more than icon, dawn of existence. Indeed, the true blade has some interesting properties. Hope you do not ever encounter it, and even the shadow that wields as a puppet. Twilight considered Luna's words for a moment. So this is what it's about, she said icily. You think I'm setting myself as next Princess Celestia? As a god. Luna spoke in low, level tones. The astral spear is all domain, Twilight Sparkle. You were the one who ordered me to become a symbol for ponykind to rally around. I fear, Twilight Sparkle, that thou wilt not relinquish his power. At this, Twilight barked at her with a laugh. That's what this is about, then. You think I'm not going to return Hyperion's power to his rightful owner? You think I'm going to take it for myself and become Equestria's new god? I'll use the elements to defeat Titan and Terra, then become Princess Twilight Sparkle? Thought to occur to her. I couldn't I? They all think Celestia's dead. I've already taken her place. Celestia considered thee the best of ponies, Twilight Sparkle. The look that Twilight gave Luna was positively caustic. I am well aware what Celestia thought of me. She took the best of her little ponies and made them into a weapon to be used against Nightmare Moon. And the best of us deserves only manipulation. Then what are the rest of us worth to the Alicorns? Oh, I know why she did it. I even agree with her wizarding. What's one little filly compared to the sanctity of Equestria? The only reason... Does truly thou think that Celestia... Don't talk over me! Twilight snapped. The only thing that makes Celestia any different from Titan is the fact she was willing to die to give us a chance. Other than that, they're just a pair of gods doing what gods do best. Luna looked as though she was resisting the urge to shout. As a god, the sound would carry over to have to say, a thou could do better? No, Twilight said adamantly. You think I want power of all things? I've been a perfect 10 on the Corsair scale since I was 11. If that wasn't enough, I've had a year of our eternal god princess and a genius intellect besides. If I ever wanted power, I wouldn't live in a tree. I don't want to be Princess Twilight Sparkle any more than I want to be Master General Twilight Sparkle. It's a role I accept only because it's what Celestia programmed me to do. It's what needs to be done. And the fact that my friends and I are the embodiment of the magic of friendship forces us to constantly risk our lives isn't lost on me either. No, Princess Luna, I don't want power. You Alicorns don't seem to be a happy lot. Luna looked a little shocked, so Twilight carried on. Now, up until this point, you've been forthright about your desire to use me like Celestia did, so I'll do you the same courtesy. I intend to destroy your parents, your brother, and General Esteem. If you help me, you will get your sister back. And I can assure you, Princess, I will need your help. princess regarded her, her face an expressionless mask. Thou hast learned hard lessons, Twilight Sparkle. I wasn't given a choice in that regard either. I will help thee. For what's worth, Twilight Sparkle. I hope that thou findest happiness when this war is over. Happiness. The word sounded strange in her mind. Thank you, Princess. First, I just arrived with an apprentice and a prisoner. I'll meet you inside. Luna took flight, and Twilight blinked back into the building and took in her surroundings. Rarity was still wrestling with Twilight's new uniform in the corner, and Pinkie Pie had apparently decided to help her by chewing on a piece of the night sky. Applejack and Rainbow Dash were conversing in low tones. From the list of host gestures Dash was making, they were talking about their previous battle. Firesight barely had a scratch on her, but an Impressive was covered in scrapes and bruises. Between them was a pale green unicorn who Twilight recognized. Twilight ignored him at first. Are you all right, Fluttershy?
Oh, I'm fine, Twilight. You look,
I'm perfectly all right. Never felt better, in fact. From behind her, Rainbow Dash spoke. She's back to being awesome! Not that you were awesome before. Fluttershy smiled slightly.
Well, I'm glad everybody's okay now.
The subtext was clear, because we weren't okay before. I'm fine, Unpressed said loudly. Thanks for asking. Twilight saw him a fat look. Good to hear. Yeah, I backflipped over a wall spell. No big deal. You guys want to hear about it? Not particularly. Unimpressive looked a bit hurt. You! Twilight said to Green Unicorn. I remember you. Now it's threatening to send your head back to Camelot in a box. I have a couple questions for you. The unicorn glowered at her. Rainbow Dash? Twilight called out without taking her eyes from the green unicorn. Yeah? Go find Spitfire and bring her here. Pinkie Pie, get Noble. Buttercup, Fluttershy, find my parents. Dash saluted before jetting off. Pinkie Pie bounced away with Fluttershy in tow. While it was true Twilight would need her staff presence, she just didn't want them around for the interrogation. She would need to go for intimidation. Something she had learned a bit from her time with Nihilus. She momentarily suspended the majority of her emotions and let herself fall into a cool state of dispassionate reason. The Green Pony's resolve to resist was just another form of system, one that she could break if she played her cards right. I'm going to ask you questions, she said simply. You will answer them all truthfully and to the best of your ability. She approached the unicorn and stood immediately in front of him. Do you understand? He spat at her, but she knocked that out of the air with a thought. She concentrated a single mote of Equinox, flicking it across his cheek, drawing blood. He laughed. I will not betray my general, no matter how many times you tickle my cheek. Twilight cocked her head. Unicorn blades have interesting properties. She shifted to the side slightly, and the green pony was thrown past her, spun through the air, and impacted the wall with a dull thump. Twilight didn't turn around. Every pony in the room was looking at her, completely silent. I could dismantle any magical defense with a touch. The only thing you won't be doing is wasting my time. For his face in the wall, the unicorn coughed. What's impossible? He wheezed. Twilight turned to approach the unicorn. As he did so, she looked at him until his face was level with hers. Odd then, that I have a hold on your body, and you're pinned to the wall. She forced his head to turn until she was whispering in his ear. You know what else I have? Martial immunity. She let him fall to the floor, and her voice became harsh. I can break all sorts of rules, kiddo. And if you don't give me what I'm asking for, I'll take it from you with my magic. No possible action you can take precludes my acquisition of your knowledge. Twilight felt a hoof on her shoulder. It was Applejack. Twi? I know I'm doing, Applejack. The unicorn's face was turning red from the blood throw. What do you want to do? Where is Queen Terra? He laughed again. I don't know. Applejack grated her teeth. Ah, she stated boldly. Twilight composed a spell. She worked from her knowledge of the element of honesty itself, imitating its magic to create something that would force the green stallion to truth. She was surprised how easily it came to her. It was much easier to manipulate the elements now that she was Twilight Sparkle. She had learned much when she forced Equinox during her conflict with Titan. The unicorn shuddered as her spell hit him, and Twilight took him down from the wall in time for him to vomit all over the floor. Aggressive mind magic doesn't feel very good, does it? Be glad I didn't use the spell Titan used on me. Listen, Unimpressive threw in. A piece of vindictive is still sitting inside you. Don't think you can get rid of the thought of me, that's easy. The unicorn coughed again before looking up at her wearily. No, he said. Doesn't feel very good at all. He then his host shot up to his mouth. Glad to see it's working, Twilight said. Now to my questions. Almost 300 of us are dead, Noble said angrily as soon as he entered the command center. The Royals are in a retreat for now, but they could turn around any minute, and they will, as soon as they realize how weak we are now. Mind telling me why you have every pony sitting out in the open, General? Noble was the last to arrive. His friends, her parents, Noble, Buttercup, Unimpressive, Spitfire, and Luna were all present. It was time for her to dictate their next course of action. You think we should go to ground? Yes. Inner Camelot is ours only momentarily. Then what should we do? They have already proved they can fight us. I have no other plans. Plans being? Retribution. Twilight nodded to Rarity and Luna. They both lifted her new uniform into the air, and moved to stand on either side of her as she spoke. Retribution? Noble asked incredulously. We can't win a war of attrition, not with the Royals. We might be able to do some damage, but they'll hit us back just as hard. First thing to go on were her shoes. 4 relatively tiny slippers made from a blue that was so dark as to be almost black slipped over her hooves. Once on, they instantly hardened into a glossy metal that hugged the contours of her hooves perfectly. No, they won't. And why is that? Next was her suit. Rarity and Luna took each piece of an oddly sheepskin fabric and draped them over Twilight. Then, they set to work joining the two another with fabric magic, sealing them together along with her legs and belly, finally up to her chest. The fabric carried every button up her neck, still the dark blue of the night sky, but it was not quite as dark as her shoes. What's more, it had a strange depth to it, as though Twilight were wearing an ocean, or more accurately, the sky. Twilight wondered how she was ever going to take the uniform off, or even if it was supposed to come off. Because, Twilight said in answer to Noble's question, they won't exist. Next, Verity affixed a row of gleaming stars to Twilight's suit, along the seam that ran up to her chest. Twilight wondered why she needed buttons when her uniform was magically sealed onto her body, and stretched to fit it perfectly. Noble apparently had nothing to say in response to Twilight's declaration, so she continued, This isn't a counterattack, she said as Verity adjusted her buttons. This is extermination. Luna touched her horn to the seam and under the buttons where the two fabrics met, and it changed the color to a perfectly straight purple-blue stripe that ran down her body and each of her legs. Twilight smiled slightly. It was the color of the last light of dusk. We end this war tonight. The puppets, Esteem, Empyrean, Terra, and Titan. I've gathered information and come up with a plan to get all of them. To do it, I'll need every pony's cooperation. Ending this war is the ultimate goal of every pony in this room, and every pony outside in that square. As such, your cooperation is expected. She gave Noble a mini look, and nodded slowly. Rarity fixed the collar of the same blue color around Twilight's neck, and Luna fused it in place with magic. No, Twilight decided. The uniform was definitely not meant to come off. Spitfire, go ahead, Cheryl. I need you to gather every Pegasus capable of manipulating the feral clouds. Dash, you're with her. We need the biggest storm cloud you can manage over Empyrean's barrier. The puppets don't have the ability to manipulate the weather, because Titan doesn't want the weather to be manipulated. The cloud will give our trade Pegasi ammunition to bombard the enemy with and cover our approach from the sky. What about the Royals? They have fewer true ponies than we do. Engaging us in the cloud would be suicide. Rarity and Luna began attaching a harness over the skin-tight suit. Twilight was glad that the purple-blue harness was not very complicated. With the ability to tuck her blood away in null space, no reason to store things on her person. Still, she supposed it looked nice. While you're doing that, my mother and father will gather a team and hit the glass factory. Break the glass, break the equipment, break everything you could break. We need to arm our unicorns within the next 20 minutes. That said, Buttercup will go back into the labyrinth with a group of ponies to salvage what she can from the armory. She knows the layout best. Every pony else, get the army ready. Your presence outside will be good for morale. They just suffered heavy losses. They'll need it. Noble cleared his throat. What will you be doing? Supervising, Twilight said curtly. I can be everywhere at once. The other Pegasus looked warily. If we do this, they know we'll be coming. They'll be prepared. We'll be facing every unit the Royal Army can muster as soon as you can break that barrier. The last piece of Twilight's uniform was the cloak. It almost reminded her of the one she wore as ne'er-do-well, except this one was pitch black as the night sky seen from a mountaintop, and it was covered in burning stars. Loyal Rarity fastened the cloak under her collar with sunbursts. Twilight was almost certain the class had been Luna's idea. The princess reminded her that she was Celestia's general, as if she could forget. She gave the class a couple of tugs. Rarity looked at Twilight, eyes questioning.
Do you like it?
Twilight gave a small smile and a nod. Yes. 20 minutes will definitely give them time to prepare, Twilight said. Only just. Esteem won't have much more than a second guess any of his actions. Noble cocked his head. What are you planning? Twilight conjured an illusionary facility at the Candlelight Palace.
Well...
Minutes later, their meeting had concluded, and every pony was rushing to complete their task. Twilight had 2 more things to do. Unimpressive? The other unicorn stopped and regarded her. Did I ask you to get the job? Because beginning isn't my kind of thing. Twilight exhaled from her lips. When the fighting breaks out, I need you to stay alive. Understand? Gee, nothing instructed me to. I suppose I will try to stay alive. No, unimpressive. Not try. You will live. You understand me? You know, there's more to surviving on the battlefield than resolve, Twilight. I don't care what situation you get yourself into. You'll consider your own life to be more valuable than any pony's, excluding the 5. Unimpressive smile faded slowly. What are you planning? How did you become a knight? Twilight, I don't think... I have places to be, Unimpressive. Answer me! He considered her for a moment. Celestia knighted me herself. My master stroke take care of me and train me. Why? Twilight nodded, her suspicions confirmed. She had no idea I was going to come along, she said to herself, and she needed to know she had a pony she could count on when the time came. A pony who was a magical talent, and who she could teach how to make war. She grabbed Unimpressive by their shoulders. You need to survive. You know all my friends by now. You're making serious sense now, Twilight. Every part of the planet needs a backup plan, including contingency that I die. They can't die! I don't intend to, she said with a smile, but there's more to surviving on the battlefield than resolve, isn't there? Twilight vanished, leaving the knight to stand alone and baffled. Okay, Rarity. 10 minutes to go time. Give me the rules, hard and fast. Rarity arched an eyebrow as Twilight cast her blade. Don't, she said simply. Don't? Rarity laughed melodiously. If my talent suddenly became magic, do you think I could outdo you in 10 minutes? Oh, come on, Twilight said. That's like Socrates saying, darling. He became the best multi-blade caster alive for 2 decades, and he's been getting better ever since. He's worth 2 of me when I'm at my best. You're not going to learn anything useful in 10 minutes. It isn't just one spell, Twilight. It's as complicated and deep as an art as the rest of War Master combined. Twilight sagged. She was really looking forward to the blade thing. Still, Rarity said, putting her up to her chin, I suppose you could shoot it around and swing it at anything without a blade of its own. When it comes to Esteem, just keep teleporting around with the abilities arm, or whatever it is you do. Got it. Or should you want to do this, Twilight? He's strong. His talent is war itself. Gets all kinds of spells to go along with that. Brutish magics that he can cast with relative ease. I'm only going to be distracting him, Rarity. He's too proud to pass up a challenge with the title strongest unicorn alive. But there was more to it than that. Esteem had smiled as he pushed a sliver of darkness through Twilight's eye. Twilight had spoken before retribution, but there was more to it than that. The memory of the agony, desperation, and abandonment she had felt come back to her unbidden. She could admit to herself that the real world she would have used was vengeance. Unrestrained, unmitigated vengeance. You know, Twilight said quietly, if I get a chance to kill him, I'm not going to pass it up. Every day he's alive, more ponies die. I hope you don't, Rarity said somberly. I wish I could do it, just so you wouldn't have to. You're a good friend, Rarity. Anything you'd like me to tell him for you? Twilight grinned. Twilight, this is not funny! He and I are done. I have nothing to say to him. All right then. I'll see you in the court. Stay safe. Rarity managed a meaningful smile. You too. I have a couple of wagons coming to pick up the shards, Twilight said as he came out of her teleport. Get ready to pack everything up and move out. Starlight Sparkle rebelled her coolly. That's no way to greet your mother. Sorry, full-blown general mode. Her mother worked with her mouth for several minutes. Take me with you, she said suddenly. Take you with me? Twilight asked flatly. Against the general. I can teleport. I'll be able to get you out when you do. I'm as good a war unicorn as to get unimpressive, and almost as good as blade casting. Then who will look after Dad? Your father can look after himself, her mother said urgently. It's you I'm worried about. I can take care of myself. Perfect 10, remember? I remember, her mother said quietly. I remember giving my daughter to Celestia because of it. That's what almost kills you in the first place. Twilight sighed. Mom, I know you want me to be safe, but I'm not safe. I haven't been safe. I won't be safe until this is over, and nothing you could do is going to change that. So please, stop trying to rid this world of everything that can hurt me. It's too big of a job for you, and getting hurt is a part of who we are. Twilight's mother's face went through a myriad of expressions within the space of a heartbeat. Anger, regret, sadness. Twilight was hard-pressed to read them all, but eventually she landed on the one Twilight had been going for. Resolve. You never used to argue with your mother. You never used to fight evil with a magic sword. Her mother hugged her. Stay safe, daughter. I'm proud of you. Your father would say the same if he weren't busy lifting tons and tons of glass. I won't lie. Giving you chores for once was a little gratifying. Her mother gave her a flat look. Empyrean's second barrier was a little easier to break than the first. It was smaller. Not just a little smaller, but smaller in a volumetric sense. Smaller by a cube portion. Not only that, but Empyrean hadn't been maintaining the spell very well. It had already proved ineffective, so why should he? Twilight also knew the motions she needed to go through already, so he didn't need to come up with a solution. Only reproduce one. She probably didn't even need to split her mind to break the thing. Still, she did it anyway, breaking her consciousness into two parts. She named the second part Sparkle. It was actually a terrible name, considering they were both identical minds. The warmongering Twilight and the pacifist Sparkle were now on both of them. Still, no naming conventions existed for night slaying, so Twilight worked with what she knew. Sparkle handled the spells, destroyed the barrier, while Twilight kept watch outside. Loss of sight was not an acceptable side effect this time. She had to make sure Esteem was not sending scouts outside the barrier. The haziness of Empyrean's shield meant she could only see about 3 meters of either side. None of her magical senses penetrated the field. If something was there to kill her, she would have little warning. It was nerve-wracking but tedious. Seconds turned to minutes as Sparkle took her time with the spells. She made sure the work she was doing could be seen, making lots of shock waves and colorful bursts appear on both sides of the approximate barrier, as if she was striking it with a giant hammer. Finally, it went down, shattering along its enormous length. Twilight admired the way it broke, fracturing into millions of equal pieces that dissolved before they hit the ground. Then she looked at the entirety of the royal armory. It was composed mostly of puppets, but there were true ponies interspersed throughout the legion. At a glance, Twilight would estimate they totaled somewhere around 1,000, almost 200 more than the number of ponies he had brought. What was worse, the average puppet could take the average pony in a fight. Though it was also true Twilight brought several above-average ponies. The royal army had gathered at the point Twilight broke the barrier, ready to meet the army she led against them. Except Twilight was alone. This? Twilight called out to the army of ponies and puppets. This isn't the Loyalist army. This isn't even the reserve. Of course, Esteem would order them to form up in anticipation of a head-on engagement. Such an engagement would surely end in his favor. When Twilight managed to get the entire army organized, he had probably been too busy with preparations to realize Twilight wasn't attacking out of desperation. This isn't me using the power to destroy against ponykind. This isn't even me offering to surrender after the events of tonight. She had chosen the point of entry deliberately. Directly behind the royal army was the 13th entrance to the labyrinth. It was the very entrance Celestia had used to show her the thing in the first place. This isn't even the right direction, so you probably should turn around. This is a distraction. It was then that Unimpressive blew the lid off the labyrinth entrance in the loudest, most audacious manner possible. Let down the undercity as a giant mill of cinder grounded to the ground behind him. Twilight thought he saw him take a drink from his flask, wondered briefly where the knight had been getting his alcohol. From out behind him spilled the unicorns of the Loyalist army. The first ones out were the strongest. Twilight saw her mother's and father's blades glowing against the dark of the night clearly. They didn't throw any spells at the royal army, but rather focused entirely on defending themselves, and the ponies were out clamoring for the opening. The first barrage of spells the royal army threw made a polychronic shield powered by dozens of the strongest unicorns in the world. That was when the bulk of her forces struck. They came from two approachable steins beside her, soaring up the streets and onto the well-cut grass of the palace plaza. They weren't going to attack the royal army from the front, but rather would maneuver around to its sides, assault the army where it disorganized and protect it. Ponies in the royal army barked orders, and they began to hastily reform their ranks to beat the incoming horde. Minutes before the two forces met, the skies opened and over 100 Pegasi came pouring down, raining thunder and lightning on their foes. Twilight noted the distinct prismatic bolt that was most definitely Rainbow Dash hit their enemies first. Under the barrage of sound, light, and electricity, the royals covered their eyes and ears. They were blind and ineffective. This was when her force collided with theirs, and when every unicorn under command abandoned their defense and let loose their attack. The royal army did not meet its foes head-on as an organized force, but was rather crushed from three sides as its ranks descended into chaos. "This," Twilight said to herself quietly, "this is not a fight you can win." Then she teleported, focusing a quiet bit as to cover the immense distance. She glided as far past the battling armies, at the foot of the palace. Chateau Empyrean did not look much different from the last time she saw it, other than the fact that the extensive damage caused by tying the Celestia had been repaired. She had a multi-part task to accomplish. Just like Empyrean barrier or royal army, her enemies were a system that she needed to dismantle. It was time to begin, starting with pride. "Esteem!" she cried, her voice carrying for kilometers thanks to her simple spell. "Esteem! You dare call yourself my better? I, who have destroyed gods and worse? You are nothing before me! Not an equal, not a rival, not a pony! Come, General, come and die!" She waited. Dimly, she heard the sound of fighting ponies far behind her. Esteem's pride would hopefully prompt him to stay and fight her, rather than join his army with his reserve. More importantly, Twilight had played Titan's pride. She hadn't even mentioned the elders of the gods, instead opting to taunt a mortal pony. She had spoken of destroying gods as though he were simply another item on her itinerary. But he is. Hopefully both of them would stay behind, in the interest of killing her rather than taking the field. Twilight's friends were already exhausted, meaning Esteem could do untold damage, in addition to rallying his voices. Still worse would be Titan. His mere presence gave puppets an extra sentience. With him on the field, the unicorn puppets would be able to cast deadlier spells. Twilight could not let this happen, especially since Luna was not part of the fight. It was extraordinarily dark out. The massive storm cloud meant to only have visible stars set upon Twilight's back. In addition, fairly luminescent mane and eyes. The only other light came from the softly glowing eyes of her skin-tight suit. It was fortunate that an easy spell allowed her to see in the dark perfectly. She watched as the wide double doors of the palace opened. Out came puppets and troop ponies. Twilight stopped counting at 5 dozen, concluding Esteem was sending out his entire reserve. This was her other task. Esteem had, like any sensible pony, kept a portion of his soldiers in an easily defensible keep. They would reinforce the royal army in the field and flank her own forces, turning her engagement in his favor. Twilight would make sure that the reinforcements never reached the battlefield, even if there were around 200 of them. Even with her fizzing spell, her enemies were colorless forms set against total blackness. Twilight could barely make out the silhouette of the palace, many towers rising behind them. Occasionally, a powerful burst of light from the distant conflict would briefly illuminate the elegant spires, and the sound of 200 sets of hooves clomping against the hollow stone steps leading to the main entrance filled her ears. The main avenue of the palace was set up in an incline, and the steps were not only shallow, but staggered in sets of 5. Simple terrain would make for an honest battlefield. Twilight closed her eyes and tapped into her magical senses while communicating with her second mind. Precision and care were paramount. Twilight would handle the mind in magic, so would interpret all the information her magical sensors delivered, as her 5 basic senses were unreliable. She would also prepare any more complicated spells, as well as directing the flow of combat. Her detachment from her body would give her a good view of the bigger picture. Sparkle would coordinate. Body and blade would go to Twilight. She didn't have to think more than a second ahead at any point in time. She could focus fulfilling her current task as efficiently as possible. Her spells would be the ones that Twilight would cast without thought. Simple things like moment fields and telekinesis. Sparkle would line up the targets. Twilight would pull the trigger. Twilight stood, eyes closed, as the enemy soldiers filled in around her. She was effectively blind to any attack they might throw at her. But she didn't worry. Sparkle had her back. She trusted herself. Unicorns, Sparkle informed her. There were many unicorns. As was sensible, they were recovering the non-unicorns in the small bit of trivial protective magic required to keep her from tampering with them. As defeating 200 ponies through indirect manipulations such as projectiles, telekinesis, and the blade would be exhausting, so you had to remove their protections. Unconsciousness and death would do this nicely. So as any contact with her colossally powerful now weapon, Equinox. So to be fair, stripping their defenses away with her blade would be pointless, as it would simply channel enough energy through the weapon to reduce any pony to ash. Why are we still waiting? She asked with polite curiosity. It seemed rational to wait for them to begin. The destruction caused by the barrage would level anything around us. In the seconds it takes to realize we had disappeared and rearm ourselves will be seconds we'll spend well. Sensible enough, Twilight said to herself. You speak of them as though they are a whole. They are not, which means weaknesses of the individual should be taken into account. Placing you in the immediate vicinity of a pony, which should trigger a strong reaction of defense, causing unity with the whole you to break away. You'll be moving around quite a bit. Fine by me. Twilight could get used to having two minds. Sparkle was very agreeable. Go! Twilight opened her eyes and saw light. So many spells were coming at her simultaneously. She was momentarily blinded. Sparkle teleported her away, into the midst of enemy ranks. Twilight felt her hooves contact smooth stone, and the ground shook moments later as the barrage of arcane energy hit its mark. She still couldn't see. Puppet. Sparkle planted a thought in her mind without words. Twilight didn't need to see what Sparkle felt. She cast Equinox and swung it through the air graciously. It connected to what she assumed was her target. It felt the blade eat through a foot of stone as it continued its downward arc. She may have oversaw things a little. Missiles incoming. Puppet. True pony. Frizzle was starting to return to her. She broke 8 blade modes from Equinox and sent it to intercept the incoming attack. Then, she broke away 4 more and sent them at a puppet. Then sent the rest of Equinox at a true pony's chest. Twilight didn't cut into the pony. Rather, her blade knocked him back like a club, as she dismantled his defenses and put him out with her sleeping spell. 8 blade modes returned to her, having each deflected an incoming projectile. By now, her vision was almost back. The glowing purple auras were practically distinct forms. Behind her, a unicorn puppet caught other flare modes on a moment field. Twilight snapped them back into her blade immediately. Only seconds had passed since their initial barrage, but more and more of the enemies were beginning to take notice of her. They needed to keep moving. This one! Twilight sent every single piece of Equinox at a unicorn puppet over 40 meters away. Certainly, 4 pieces of the element of magic, wielded by the bearer of the element of magic, might be something a puppet could deal with, but 27 was beyond their capacity to heal in anything but large numbers. She had to squint to see through her impaired vision, but she watched with some satisfaction as the puppet was obliterated by her weapon. Now here, this one and this one. Sparkle teleported them so they were behind a unicorn puppet as it dispersed. Twilight caught her blade just in time to jam it through her surprised puppet's eye. To break it into motes and send them flying around her. 3 more puppets went down before she even started to worry about defending herself. She picked a number of energy projectiles out of the air while simultaneously shearing a puppet in 2. The absurdity of the situation occurred to her. They were trying to fight her with magic. The very idea was preposterous. Pride is good, Sparkle said. I'm being cautious, so pride has no ill effects. Twilight couldn't agree more. On Sparkle's orders, she teleported 50 meters into the air and held herself aloft. She was facing downward, and was treated with a good view of Esteem's reserve. They had suffered little losses, but were still scrambling around, disorganized. Her ability to be in so many places at once was obviously not something they were prepared to deal with. She charged each fragment of Equinox, and sent them ripping through the air and putting them into locations. Most of the puppets lit up in time. Some did not. Several tons of black mist arose as parts of Equinox buried themselves into the stone steps. Twilight prepared to detonate them, but stopped when she saw that she would most likely kill several true ponies. Just that one. Twilight caused a single piece of Equinox to explode in incandescent violet, knowing with satisfaction that only puppets were harmed in the blast. Then, just as the first spells were thrown by the ponies on the ground began to reach her, Sparkle teleported them to the crater they had just created. See, hardened their skin, so it would help to fight the hardening rubble. Twilight pulled the fragment of Equinox out of the ground. Twilight showed her where to aim, as he had driven a tiny point of light through another unicorn puppet before they realized where she was. Sparkle removed her tracks from the ground in a seemingly random section of the battlefield, as Twilight willed the fragment to detonate, as he teleported away once more. She noticed the pony sliding helplessly on the ground. As he came out of the teleport, it retrieved the second mode of her blade. Once again, she spent a very short amount of time dispatching the foes around her before detonating another piece of Equinox and living. This time, she came out in the middle of the trackless ground before Sparkle had created moments ago. "You think ahead," she said with approval. As he did, Twilight was violent and meticulous. She skewered their enemies or broke apart their defenses before putting them to sleep. She was almost mechanical in her movements, the model of combat efficiency. She just didn't defeat her enemies. She did so while using the least amount of time and energy possible. She was in never one place for more than a couple of seconds, but she never failed to leave a few down opponents in her wake. Sparkle, though, was a mastermind, so he made sure their movements were entirely unpredictable. So instead of a pattern, just to change their movements and counter their enemies' expectations. When a true pony started to command, or otherwise exclude anything other than blind panic, they would appear moments later to be put them down. Their appearances directed the flow of the enemy, hurting true ponies away from the buried blade motes. Twilight didn't even know that Sparkle was also tapping their harmonic connection. The fact was made known to her when, between blade motes 15 and 16, she was directed to teleport back to where Applejack and Pinky were fighting. She emerged in the center of a conflict with true chaos, deflected half a dozen incoming magic missiles, executed 2 unicorn puppets, then wordlessly left. The short disappearance cost her. When she returned to a space 50 meters above Esteem's reserve, it certainly looked more organized, albeit dismissed. To shake things up, Sparkle nullified gravity in one area as Twilight fell through the air. He also set another area on fire and detonated 2 more blade motes before hitting the ground. She landed graciously, stayed to attract another wasteful following of spells, then popped out of the air to resume collecting her weapon. She amplified her voice again, as he came out of the teleport, skidded to a halt next to the puppet. "Please pry. Save intimidating tactics for the encounter itself." She began to call out to Esteem once more. "Where are you?" The puppet fell into 2 pieces and dispersed. "Or is rarity's rejection broken your mind?" "Shield." Twilight was not about to take any chances, so she made sure the bubble of energy she wrapped in herself was the strongest she could master. Paid off. Moments later, 14 charged blade shards collided with her shield, carrying enough power to make her take notice. Sparkle teleported away just moments before the shards exploded. Twilight found herself standing atop of the stairs, right next to the palace doors and Esteem himself. "Kill him!" She thrust her blade through the air into General, but he simply crossed the distance between them, and Smoky Crater had left it a heartbeat. They each assembled their blades in full. "General," Esteem grunted her loudly, over 30 meters away. "Master General," as Twilight corrected. "Titles are important." Esteem let out a snort of annoyance. "So you come to kill me, have you?" He looked behind him at what had been at least 100 soldiers. "I seem to have brought an army with me." Twilight teleported directly in the center of the reserve, knowing gleefully Esteem seemed to have overlooked a crystal fact. Not a single one of his remaining soldiers was a unicorn. Every puppet dispersed as Twilight froze the water in their brains. Every pony fell to the ground as Sparkle put them to sleep. Of course, Esteem wouldn't bother protecting his own army. "Nice bathrobe," Twilight said casually to the only pony between her and the palace. She was fully aware she had shown up in a suit made from night sky, a cloak made of starlight, and a halo of pure energy. Intimidation, pride. Surrender, and you get a jail cell. Fight, and you die. Esteem barked out a humorous laugh. "I am the hoof of God, the wheel of Titan himself. I've seen you beg for your mother. Titan isn't scared of you, neither am I." "I'm only asking so that when I tell every pony that I gave you a chance to surrender, I won't be lying. I don't want to be a liar." "Only a murderer, apparently." Twilight gave a slight nod. "I don't want to be that either, but necessity dictates. I figured if I offered now, you refuse. But I offered when I had you pinned to a wall. You say yes. You're too sick and dangerous to put in a jail cell. I'm too good to tell lies. This was the natural solution. Well then, Master General Sparkle, I suppose this can only end one way, can't it? It would seem so, General Esteem. I have been looking forward to this, he replied with a smile as he spread his hooves and rolled his shoulders. You have a plan, right? Rapidly jumping around, causing chaos amongst a crowd of vastly inferior enemies was one thing. Fighting the most skilled blade caster in the world was another. He had absolutely no idea how to use her weapon in close quarters. Physically, she left a lot to be desired. His advantage. Twilight Sparkle sat back in pure form. Experience. Our advances, power, mobility. Esteem crossed the distance between them in a tenth of a second, and smoothly moved to slice her in half. Twilight barely managed to teleport away in time. Scratch mobility! As he came out of her teleport, Esteem threw his blade at her fragments. She was forced to deflect it with her own weapon. Then he pushed his way through the air between them and reassembled his weapon. Twilight didn't wait long for him to swing, blinking away as soon as he got close. Be a thug. She tore a block of stone the size of several ponies from the nearby palace and threw another from the ground in front of her. Then she tossed two master projectiles at him, annoyed that she had to resort to such simple magic. Esteem shot shards of his blade into both of the converging blocks, caused it to explode, sending fragments of stone everywhere. He began to run towards her, despite the tons of stone sealing his way. Twilight was quick to remove the traction from the ground beneath him, but Esteem jumped into the air just in time to avoid falling. He planted two hooves on a piece of stone as it turned beneath him in the air, and sprang forward with the grace of a Pegasus. The tiny bits of flying rubble bounced harmlessly off his skin as he spun once before landing with all four hooves on the ground. He's good. Twilight wasn't sure where the thought originated. With another motion spell, Esteem crossed the distance between them and he tried to kill her. His experience was paying off. Esteem no doubt knew every way in which he could attack him. He'd been doing this for a while after all. She wasn't going to get him using conventional means. Twilight teleported up to the palace's entrance, waiting for Sparkle to inform him of Esteem's next incoming attack. She didn't. Esteem remained where they are moments before. Fascinating, isn't it? He called out. A real unicorn duel. All our power to destroy. And yet we are both still so fragile. Two exquisite glass figurines in the center of a maelstrom. Keep talking. I'll come up with a plan. Esteem versus Tempest. I would probably give it to Tempest, but only if, depending on how well she can blade cast. I think I can imagine blade cast Tempest being in this movie to be a badass blade caster. Dual wielding. Either that or blade casting a spear. Ooh, would she be Sunset's opponent? More like painting over a masterpiece instead of creating your own. This is a terrible way to use magic. Well, I disagree, but I hope you do not see the beauty in it because you're so inept. Intimidation, pride. Nihilus made the same mistake. Twilight called out to him. Esteem scoffed. Nihilus was an idiot. She was, Twilight agreed. She had the mind of a child and the power of a demigod. You think all the spells you got from your book are the pinnacle of magical warfare? So did Nihilus. While she spent all her time memorizing formulae, I was improving them. Over 1,000 years had passed since a store corsair wrote the book on killing with magic. 1,000 years of magical development I can apply to her spells. And yet you throw rocks at me and swing your blade around like a butt. More time. Do you know what I asked Rarity before I came here? Esteem's expression darkened. Do tell. I asked her if she said anything to say to you before you died. She didn't. She could have talked me out of coming here, you know. I was giving her the chance to. Instead, she gave me advice. Even she wants you to die. The muscles in Esteem's neck tensed. What was her advice? Not to go blade to blade with you. Good advice. He drawled. Anything else? Stay safe, Twilight thought. That was an Esteem smile. Twilight found it odd he should be smiling. She had gotten him angry just a moment ago. Stay safe. Her mother's voice echoed in Rarity's words inside her head. No, Esteem should definitely not be smiling. She heard a soft pitter-patter, and looked to see her blood pooling on the stone ground beneath her. Stay safe, her father had said. That was when Titan pulled his blade out of her midsection. This isn't right, Twilight thought before collapsing to the ground. Titan could have easily killed her instantly if he had stabbed her. Why leave her to bleed out of the ground? How come she didn't feel any pain? Why didn't her other mind detect Titan coming with magic? I tried, Sparkle said faintly before fading back into the hole. There was pain, yes. There was most definitely pain. She had been stabbed straight through, from her back to her belly. That would explain all the blood. Twilight had read once exactly how much blood she had in her body. Now she couldn't remember the figure. A gleaming magical point dragged its way over the stones through the expanding pool of vital fluid. Did you think, Esteem said quietly, that this was a storybook? He leaned in to whisper in the ear. That you, the champion of good, will show up here to do battle with I, the champion of evil, and defeat me in single combat, winning the day for ponykind. You don't think I won't cheat just because I'm winning? Twilight was beginning to feel incredibly cold. Her legs were starting to shake. Esteem continued, do you think this is the way of the world? Allow me to teach you how dark this world really is. She felt another sharp pain in her chest. Quickly tried to double over as Esteem's blade shard hooked itself on her inside. She felt a tug as dragged through a pool of her own blood into the Camelot Palace. She cried, gritted her teeth. This is a possibility. This outcome was acceptable, if not preferred. She slid on her punctured back across the floor. Esteem continued to speak. Painful incident. This particular form of execution was taught to me by a griffin. He deposited her after a short distance, right at the beginning of the palace's massive atrium. Twilight could tell where she was by the pillars she could barely see. She had a plan B. She prepared for the contingency of her own death. She just had to accept this was happening and make peace with it. All that was left now was not go out the way she had last time. No pony was coming to save her. No pony could. The blade twisted inside her. Twilight felt something snap. I don't think you have much time left, Master General Sparkle, Esteem said softly. So to be brief, everything you intended to accomplish will not come to pass. Everything you have accomplished thus far will be undone. You will die, and rarity will despair. Twilight felt like she should say something. But what could she say? Nothing to give away her plan, certainly. A taunt? Esteem seemed resilient to those. Something for herself, then. Something that meant a lot to her. She felt something cold and flat pushing against her face. Forced to look up into Esteem's eyes as he leaned over her. You will forever be known as the pony for a failure to kind. That is your legacy. And when you die, I'm going to strip the flesh from your face and eat it. She didn't pay much attention to his words. She decided. Friendship. She would die with her friends on her mind, knowing her sacrifice brought Ponykind a chance. So I opened her mouth to speak, and discovered it had been filled with blood. Oh well, she closed her eyes. One way or another, it would all be over soon. Well, guess that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Twilight dies. Come back next week for when we start something brand new. Bye.